Welcome to another episode of Count Me In. Today we are thrilled to have Pierre Rukebesha, co-founder and CEO of Rukebesha, join us. JP is a seasoned accountant and entrepreneur. He hails from Rwanda and is now based in Canada. He shares his incredible journey of helping small businesses harness the power of technology to make better financial decisions. During our conversation, JP discusses the challenges small business owners face, his transition from accounting to entrepreneurship, and the transformative potential of artificial intelligence in the business world. JP's story is a testament of the importance of purpose, financial literacy, and technological adaptation. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a small business owner looking to optimize your operations, this episode is packed with valuable insights. Tune in and get inspired by JP's visionary approach to making a meaningful impact on the global business landscape. JP, I'm really excited to have you on the podcast today as we talk about, small business and changing that landscape through technology. And you've done that through different organizations and companies that you started. And maybe you could start off by talking what sparked that ambition? What caused you to kind of get into this space and what helped ignite that passion to helping small businesses make better decisions through technology?
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Thanks for having me. So I'm an accountant by background, and I grew up in developing countries. Grew up in Rwanda, and coming to Canada in 2012, I started working as an accountant with small businesses. And I realized how different it is from where I come from. And because small businesses here, the landscape is similar to big businesses. The only difference is the size and the resources. So they still have to do all the reporting, or taxation, understanding what they're doing, because they might have an audit in the future. So by working with small businesses, I saw that a lot of them, the majority actually, they run the business based on what they know to do, like a plumber or a guy in the building who does the building. And so they don't have any financial background knowledge, or what they know is not strong enough to help them really manage properly their businesses. So you see them running around throughout the year, and without anything really to cross-check what they're doing, like having regular metrics, understanding if they're hitting their margins. Even if they have a question about their pricing, they have got no idea. Maybe there's an opportunity to expand their businesses. They don't know when to borrow, how much to borrow. And in the end, they are kind of focused on the reporting at the end of the year, where the government requires them to file their taxes. That's when they run to their accountant or keepers to get everything sorted out. And really, as I was seeing it, I started asking me two questions. One, surely they never got into the business just to know how much taxes they would pay. They wanted to do better for themselves, for their families. Second, the way they are doing things, it's not like they never have to worry about what is happening. And the fact that they only see their bank balances, how much money they have in the bank, to really know if they are doing good or if they are not doing bad. They have no idea. They have to walk away from something which is not working out. Simply because you see the money in the bank account doesn't necessarily mean that you are making profit. And also, the way the financial system is built it hasn't changed for years. I don't know how many years, but the way the financial system is, we have got guys on the other side who, like banks, financial advisors, who are waiting for the small business to make the money, then to tell them what to do with the money. So I started asking myself questions. How come there is no system which helps these guys make the money from the beginning? Why do they have to keep on working, not really having any visual about what they're doing? Is it possible to do? So I asked my boss, that was in 2013. I asked my boss, I said, can I try something like a consultancy? Because I have a background, a consultant's background. Sometime back, I worked sometime at KPMG. And he said, yeah, sure, you can try. So I took a group of small business owners. I said, would you be able to have your information every quarter so we can sit down and look through your numbers, discuss a few things about financing, about your vision, about your operations. just like being the soundboard for the small business owner. Because we are in a position where we cannot afford to hire a full-time advisor or a CFO, if you would call it.
Mm-hmm.
So I did it, and it was very, very successful. Some of the customers, they were able to triple their revenues by simple having few strong understanding of few concepts about if they are pricing their product, what should I look at? If I'm drawing money from the business for personal use, what should I do?
Mm-hmm.
How much should I be aiming to save? How can I check it every month and make sure that I stick to my plan, right? So it was a very, very good, successful period. But when I had the issue with like any other consultant, you only work from 9 to 5, or even if you work 15 hours a day, you are not going to survive. And also in the long run becomes like your relationship with your family doctor. If you visit his clinic or her clinic and he's not around, you usually don't feel good because you are used to him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and I said, is it a way I can do what I'm doing with these guys and make it available to many millions of small businesses all over the world, let alone North America? So I had that idea. Then obviously I went into the technology issues because I had zero knowledge about technology.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know where to start. So the idea stayed there until 2018. I always ask myself, how can I do it? In 2018, I I stumbled on a webinar by Peter Diamandis. He's an American guy. I think he's a well-known guy. And he was teaching something he called exponential advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Paid a lot of money for it. So exponential advantage is what he was saying. He was saying, because of the way technology is evolving, anything which we can digitalize, we are able to make it available to a lot of people. So that really got into my mind. Then as I was going through, I said, okay, so what do I know about technology? So I started paying some courses on Udemy, not to be a technology guy, but to understand how these things work together. Then immediately the AI came along. Now I realized I could take the knowledge which I have, which I know the small business needs, which I have tested in the marketplace, and apply artificial intelligence on it and make it available to everybody.
Mm.
So that's how the whole thing started.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I mean, that's a great story, just kind of showing where you started, you saw a need while you were within an organization and you're like, how can I do this? And it's great that you had the opportunity to kind of test out some of your ideas while you were in that confines, but then being able to take it the next step to become that kind of entrepreneur. How important was it, your experience as an accountant, in switching to starting a company and that entrepreneurial journey? How important was that experience as an accountant as you were becoming an entrepreneur? Because not everybody who starts a business understands the accounting side of things.
Yeah. So, not everybody is made to be an entrepreneur because it's a very scary environment.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of guts, a lot of courage, and outcore also purpose for your life to see if you can make a difference in people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And being an accountant, I have always been like that because I never really felt, how I'd call it, I never really felt like accounting was really the defining career for me. It was supposed to, I always saw it as an opportunity to open up my vision to see things in a bigger picture.
Yeah.
And I started a lot of different things. A lot of things failed. And later I saw that probably I was going to the wrong things, which I didn't understand very, very well. Started different things, never worked. And so one time I met a friend of mine, and after we met, we were just talking about business in general, and he said, you know a lot of things. When I talk to you, you have good ideas, and why don't you make it available to a lot of people? And because we were talking about something else. He had an e-commerce business, and I was trying to help him. So then I went home and I said, oh, man, so I had this idea for so long, and now this guy just clicked something in my mind. And but the thing is, an entrepreneur, you need to make a lot of sacrifices in life. when you meet people who have been successful, you have an impression that it was very easy, and it's not. And you got something you have to give to be able to make headways, if I could call it, in your entrepreneurship vision, because you cannot be a 9 to 5 and expect also to build a venture on the side. It's not going to work. It has to be something which you think about probably 80 to 90% of your time every day. You need to be thinking about it. And when what you're trying to do as an entrepreneur is within your actual professional environment, it becomes much easier because you perceive, you see the solution, the issues, the direction very, very easily. You don't have to make a lot of efforts. The only efforts I had to make was to learn about how tech guys work for it. I learned a bit of coding just to understand, to be able to talk to them. I learned a bit of AI technology, how you can build an AI company, just to be able to understand how these things come together. But don't ask me the whole technical thing about it. So it was a long, long journey, but which I believe is part of things which I want to do, because I feel like the world, we are here for a reason, and everybody has got a role to play. And not all of us are going to identify what it is. And the majority of us, we do things like the job and everything, we are not happy. Maybe what would make us happy is just to interact with people and try how we can help others do better. And also it brings more efficiency into the way we do things. Think of the time when people used to line up to get someone to type a letter for them when you still have the typewriter, right? Then the computer came along and everybody can write his own letter if you want to write something. So there's efficiency, there's cost savings, and also the humanity advances. As we share more knowledge, the world becomes a better place. And I believe it's the same thing with the small businesses, because these guys, they have got good intention for their own lives, for the community where they live, because they create jobs. By the way, small business creates like 70% of the jobs we see in the country. They don't get much time on TV or the media, but they are the driving force behind most of the economies in the world. But because it's individuals, one guy, one lady, their forces is very strong, but it never come together as one unit because everybody's fighting fires on his own. So, and I believe giving them tools which help them even to do better. That 1,000 they can save, or for example, their accounting costs or whatever they pay the service they need, it can be put to good use.
Yeah, you're right. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody. You have to be curious. You have to be willing to make sacrifices. And, I appreciate you sharing your journey, because, obviously not every venture you try is going to be a success. There's going to be some failures, but you learn from those failures and you grow. Yeah. And that helps build upon to become more successful in the future. And I'm sure that there's so many stories you can tell about your failures more than your successes, because you learn so much more when you fail.
Yeah. There's a lot of stories. A lot of stories I can talk for the whole day about.
I'm sure. But like when we're talking about technology, you started a technology company that's helping small businesses, but it's evolving. Technology is evolving at a breakneck speed with these large learning language models, the learning language model, AI, generative AI things. How do you stay ahead of the curve? You said you learned a little bit of everything, but how do you stay ahead of the curve to make sure that your company is doing what it needs to for your customers?
All right. So the way technology evolves, actually, in the grand scheme of things, at a certain stage it becomes incremental. It's not really a revolution like groundbreaking, changing things. Right now we have got the AI, which is starting being applied at a very limited level up to now. So think of like how long did it take the internet to be available to everybody?
It took a while.
Yeah, everybody knows about the .com 2000, right? So internet came, then a lot of money was lost. Some made money. Then it took another 10 to 15 years to be really available to everybody. I remember the time where we used to line up, for example, to spend 30 minutes at the internet cafe, right? Yeah. So the way I see technology, I see it, if you have got the foundation right, you just have to be aware of new changes coming, new application coming, or the new different ways of adding what you're doing. So, and you do it through reading, listening. These days, there is information. Actually, the biggest challenge for the world now is the amount of information here, because we don't know how to sift through it and really keep what really matters to what we want to do. There's a lot of distraction. At the same time, good things, right? It's like a child going into a shop full of toys, and he loves so many. And you say, okay, there are 1,000 here. I just want you to come out with 5 only. It's going to be a very big challenge for the child. So it's the same thing we're facing today. You listen, you see new things happening, but at the same time, if your foundation, your foundational infrastructure is right, you're just going to grab the incremental piece, which is adding something to what we are doing, then just apply to what we are doing.
I like that. Lay a good foundation, and it's just incremental changes. Because from a perspective, if you're not in that world directly, from the outside looking in, you're like, oh my gosh, there's this big change. But somebody who's already been building upon that's just like, no, it's just a small little thing, a new improvement that I'm adding, as opposed to a big change. And that's a whole different perspective than most people have on the way technology is moving.
Yeah, it's like, for example, we know one thing I learned from Peter when he was talking is what digitalization is going to do to the world. And we are seeing it. And a lot of people, when they see the digitalization happening now in the AI, they think AI was created yesterday. But through my courses, I learned that most of the formulas we use for AI were created back in the 1940s, 1950s. And those guys who created those mathematical formulas, they used to be called crazy, because they would spend weeks trying to solve any mathematical equation. And the reason they couldn't crack it and make it available is because most of the information was still analog into the box.
Yeah.
So they didn't have any digital information to feed to the machine. Even if they had it, their computers were the size of a big room, right? The computing power wasn't there. So the digitalization, really, we are seeing the incremental changes as the devices we use, they get smaller and smaller. We coming from a big computer desktop to a laptop to the iPad. Now we're going to a watch. I won't be surprised in maybe 5-10 years, we wouldn't even need a laptop.
Yeah.
Probably we just have everything on our watch. We press a button, you create an hologram, and you do whatever you have to do, then you are done. So it's a challenge, but you just need to be aware of it. And also it changes our habits, the way we do things in life. I remember the time when it was very difficult. When you called like the bank and you hear there is a virtual assistant on the other side. When you were used to listening to a human being, you didn't feel good. But these days, nobody really cares much about it. We know there is a virtual assistant on the other side, especially when it says, yeah, I can't answer that question. Now I'm going to get you someone to talk to. Yeah. Yeah, I think we just need to stay alert. It's part of our lives. There's now, you have to adapt and understand what impact the technology is having on your life. But at the same time, avoid being wasteful, having a lot of gadgets which has got nothing to do in the house, or things which you don't really need. I think that's the problem, because as it evolves, people build different small techs and gadgets. So it comes to you as a human being and asking yourself, is this really adding any value in what I do in my household, in my workplace? Or I'm just spending the money because I heard on TV or an ad popped up on my phone saying that this is the next big thing. This is the next thing I need to have. So we got to be careful as human beings and not be wasteful on technologies, piece of devices which you don't really need. Just to use what you feel is adding to you, allowing you to grow as a human being, giving more knowledge.
Yeah. No, I think that's great advice. So as we've been talking about your story and your journey through your entrepreneurial career and your career as an accountant before that, what advice would you offer to people who are aspiring to do that? Maybe they want to get out of the mundane 9 to 5. Obviously, when you're an entrepreneur, there is no 9 to 5. You're always on. But who want to use technology to kind of tackle challenges and ideas that they have? What advice would you give them? What are the first steps they should start taking as they move forward?
Right. So the first one is trying to do inner searching and understand your purpose and what you really want to do. Because it's a big, big challenge for us. I read one time a study which was done by Harvard. They were talking about what they called deep embedded interest, which is something which you were created to do in your life.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we only figure out in our 40s upwards. So when we're young, we can't figure out. And even the Bible says the same thing. We have a purpose in life which aligns with our interests and things which makes us be happy. Things which makes us be happy when we do it. Because sometimes you can see someone doing something and you think this person is miserable. Probably is not. He loves that job.
Yeah.
Maybe sweeping the street or filling up the shelves in the store. You see him, you say, "Yeah, man, that is not. It must be very painful." No, it may not be painful because that's what he loves doing. So the first advice is doing a inner searching and figuring out what do you want to do, why you want to do it, because it's not enough to leave your job for the sake of just leaving because you're not happy with your boss. Or you think if you go to work for yourself, you make more money. You need to have a purpose behind it. Otherwise, once you leave and your 9 to 5 job and you only did it because you didn't like your boss, you're not happy with your pay, you think you can make more money. As soon as you get challenged by the entrepreneurship landscape, you're probably going to regret it or walk away. Move away and go and get a job again. Just do a deep searching and see, why do I want to do it? And also, second, you need to have a bigger vision. I think you have heard this where people say, if you're aiming shoot for the star to the moon. If you can't get to the moon, you can land into the star. It should be that bigger vision. Am I doing it to make a difference in people's lives? Am I contributing to the humanity, to the way our society operates, evolves? If the reasons are bigger than you, that you feel like you can contribute to creating a legacy or changing people's lives in a meaningful way, then go for it. Otherwise, just stick to your job and do what you have already done. Don't just jump into it for the sake of earning extra money or running away from that annoying boss.
I like that advice. It's to use the Simon Sinek's adage, find your why.
Yeah, exactly.
Find your why. What is the why? Like you were saying, your purpose, and I think a lot of people are familiar with that. Find your why, because if you don't have your why, like you said, when things get hard, when the challenges come, like, why am I doing this? And you might leave it and go do something else. But you need to find that bigger picture so that you can understand the reason for doing this. So when things get hard, you have something to hold on to. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult because it's not an easy road to walk.
Yeah, it's very, very hard. Yeah.
So as we wrap up the conversation, JP, it's been great chatting with you. Maybe you can, what are like the 3 top things you've learned in your entrepreneurial journey that you want to share with our audience? The top 3 things that you want to share with them, that if you want them to walk away with something, what would you like them to walk away with this as we finish up the conversation?
One is, I think it's the main one is, in my journey, doing what I'm doing about helping small businesses, it reminds me what the world has to go through to teach people, making sure that the majority of people can read and write. The basic literacy. The basic literacy changed the world because now you don't depend on people reading and telling you things. You can go and figure it out yourself. And so you become the center of decisions, not being the person who just being influenced, probably in the wrong way or the right way. But people, when they tell you things, they can put a spin on it. But if you can read it yourself and understand it, then you you are the driving force behind all decisions. So one thing is, I would like the financial literacy become like the way the writing and reading basic literacy has been. And I believe it's time anybody should be able to read and understand the basic finances, not from just the fact that they tell you this product A, B, C, D can do this for you. You can get so much return. That for me, that's the end result, because you have to earn the money first to be able to understand where to put your money, where to invest. So basic financial literacy is one thing. And everybody in the business, from our kids at school, by the way, our kids at school don't learn about finances. All of us, we learn when we get our first credit card when we are 18. And when you get the first call saying you can get a credit card. I have a son, he turned 18 in November. And it was very, very fun, because the same day he got the first email from the bank telling him that he can have a credit card. Right? So for me, the first thing is a financial literacy, which will make the world more efficient. Second thing is knowing that the road ahead as an entrepreneur is hard. And by the way, life itself is not easy. Right? You fight to make income, and you think it's hard, but when you make the money, it even becomes hard. Right? Because we have different type of challenges.
Yeah.
So the third thing is knowing to live in the moment, at the same time having a projected future. Living in the moment means that whatever is happening around you is going to shape the things which you're going to face or which you're going to see in the future. But it's important to be in the moment all the time and solve a problem. But as you are solving the problem, like we call it fighting fires, you are at the same time saying, hey, this is just a matter of setting the foundation right, which will allow me to jump to the next step. So you shouldn't see the problem you're facing as yes, it is a limiting factor. It's a hindrance. It's a challenge. But actually, that challenge should really give you the fire to say, hey, yeah, this is just temporary. Let me solve it, then move ahead and continue. Yeah, those are what I can share.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing your story with us, your knowledge, and I just really thank you for coming on today with us, JP.
Thanks, Adam. It was a pleasure talking to you.
This has been Count Me In, IMA's podcast, providing you with the latest perspectives of thought leaders from the accounting and finance profession. If you like what you heard and you'd like to be counted in for more relevant accounting and finance education, visit IMA's website at www.imanet.org.